All right. Hi, my name is Ian Cook. I am one of the board members of Research Triangle Analysts, and I am pleased this evening to introduce our speaker, Rick Pack. Rick has degrees in biostatistics from the University of Kentucky and applied statistics from Penn State. Rick has extensive experience working with clinical trials data and data in a variety of other domains. He currently works as a data scientist at LabCorp. Rick has experience using a breadth of different technologies, including R. He has authored and contributed to several R packages, including the one that he'll talk to us about today. Rick is also incredibly generous in volunteering his time to a variety of worthy causes, and he has served since 2018 as an RTA board member. And thank you very much for that, Rick. So without further ado, Rick Pack.
Thanks, Ian. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to do this after postponing this presentation twice. This is a story of going from pain to some joy. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity. This is going to be an informal presentation, less perhaps statistically advanced than many, but this has been a passion project of mine really for a couple years now. As I'll talk about, I have been, when I can, working with the R Ladies Meetup R package, and the pain of not being able to put this presentation together fortunately led to me becoming an R package contributing author. So I am happy about that. What is an R package? Well, I won't dwell on this very much. I have a great book that I meant to show you. So this is a great book by Hadley Wickham. I hope this is on screen, concerning R packages. But R packages make R infinitely extensible. You can write essentially code and add that code to instances of R. Others can add that code to their instance of R using package installation, and then they get functions, they get data, and I have a URL for this tutorial gateway discussion in the slide notes if you are interested. Of course, the problem with packages that many of us have experienced with R, Python, and other software is that packages often have dependencies. Packages can themselves introduce unexpected problems. My manager is featured in this little chat in which he confirmed that he also has had trouble with Python libraries. I assume that means the same as packages. So yeah, it can be a drag, but worth the effort. As I said, I've been involved with the Meetup R package produced by R Ladies. R Ladies is a group of chapters worldwide dedicated to increasing diversity in the use of R. The work that I've done has added me, as you can see here, to being among the contributors on the GitHub page, which I feel quite proud of, even though, as you can see in the bottom left corner, the amount of code I have contributed has not been very much. That's me. That's me. So just about a month ago, or a couple weeks ago, I did a video that you can find. It'll be in the slide notes concerning some of the data that I'll be showing here. Ben Uba, a Nigerian data scientist, reached out to me about 2 years ago concerning Google Summer of Code, and I worked with Dr. Claudia Vitolo with Ben, serving as mentors for a project which it was called R Community Explorer, yes. And so there's a video that you can see of the presentation we did about a month ago with updated data, and we've added to, really he has added to, let me give him credit, to the use of the R Ladies Meetup R package to explore the enormous amount of growth we have seen, at least based on Meetup data acquired through the API in the area of R usage. And now my screen is not progressing. There we go. Yeah, so that's the presentation. I worked with Ben and then meet Bhatnagar and Anani Sharma. I don't know why my slides are not progressing automatically. This is from that video. The R Community Explorer, you can explore it using the URL on the screen, and that will be in the slide notes. We looked at the Q&A. Number 4 here is looking at Stack Overflow data. We looked at Google Summer of Code data with respect to our Twitter. It's pretty cool. There are a lot of screens, and you may have seen a previous presentation I have done looking at the R Community Explorer. And I hope to be able to show some new stuff when we do Analytics Forward 2020, if it makes sense for us to pull that together. Some data that been pulled together through that API concerning R Ladies. I do want to focus on R Ladies because I'm grateful for the package they have created and to which I've now contributed. This is from 2020. I'm sorry, this is end of 2019 to 2020, and I know it's confusing year-wise, but you can see what happened with the COVID crisis. When you look, wait a minute, this is not what I thought it was. I'm sorry, one second. Yeah. Oh, this is across years. Okay, sorry about that. So across years, you see a dip in the summer with respect on the left to meetup events, how many meetup events the R Ladies have conducted. And then there's a nice peak in the winter until New Year. And then on the right, you see yes RSVPs. So using the Meetup API, we can acquire how many people have indicated they would attend an event. Of course, we can't actually know who attended, but those yes RSVPs are there. And then on the next slide, we see the worldwide representation of R Ladies is quite impressive. As I have described in the video, there is, relative to overall chapters, a surprisingly higher representation of R Ladies in Latin America. So that might be a region from which we can learn quite a bit. Less so with Asia and Africa for some reason. You know, so you see debates about R versus Python and is R dying? The chart on the left shows there has been continued growth up till, here's the COVID-19 point, up till until recently, where you see a flat line around March 2020 because of the COVID crisis. Not as much creation, actually no creation of R Ladies chapters. Here's the COVID-19 slide I was referencing earlier. Yeah, so around the time of the COVID crisis, February 2020, we start to see a drop in the number of events. And then, as you have also seen with other groups, as we learn from each other and the incredible need for community that we have, R Ladies have been creating events more recently, a lot of events, and I think that's a really promising sign. I do want to take just a moment to thank a sponsor of the R Community Explorer, Jumping Rivers, and Ben is looking for some assistance, so if you would like to get involved with this work, please reach out. So when I created the presentation that some of you might have RSVP'd for and discovered that I postponed, I thought the setup work would be pretty easy. The Meetup R package, because of a change to the Meetup API, was returning when members joined meetup.com instead of when they joined the actual event. And my plan was to look at Research Triangle Analysts and TriPass with respect to when members had joined those groups. So I was going to change that date and then do a bunch of stuff like use OpenXLSX and read Excel to create Excel files, do conditional formatting, use Ian. Remember Ian? We talked with him earlier. Ian has a tidy query R package that I've been wanting to use for a while. So this gave me an excuse to try SQL queries on data frames. Big dreams. And I will achieve these dreams in Analytics Forward 2020 if we have that event. So to fix the problem of the Meetup R package returning when members joined meetup.com instead of the actual group, I looked through the code of the Meetup R package, which I've done quite a bit over the last couple of years, and it looked like an edit to get_members.r would fix the problem. So if you do not use R, RStudio is by far the most popular IDE used to work with code. And so this is just a screenshot of that code at the top. It's hard to see here, but this is the get_members.r code that needed to be tweaked in order to acquire the proper date. What I wanted to show here is, let's see. Yeah, so this was helpful. I needed to go to the meetup.com website. I studied it. This is actually, I'm not going to go into the code of how this works, but this new line where you see created is what I needed in order to get when members join the group. It turns out that created is the name that meetup.com now uses for that date. Easy enough. The email is not useful. This was an idea I had. I thought some of you may know that meetup.com has been associated with some concerns about its future. And so as a member of Research Triangle Analysts and TriPass, I would like to help us keep track of our members. It would be great to get email addresses, but that is a failure. That has not worked out. It turns out that when one asks the Meetup API for email addresses, one gets only their own. So this is from GitHub. I made the change that you see. What everyone thought would be correct, which was joined, turned out to have needed to be changed to group profile created. And the use of this .date_helper function, what it does, and this was already present in the meetup.r package, it automatically handles this curious date time variable that is milliseconds since the epoch, whatever that is, I forgot. But fortunately, the date_helper function takes care of that so that what you get back is a day and time that's readily understood. So I was making good progress. I was editing the meetup.r package in RStudio. In the syntax of R dev tools, what you see here, that's the package name. The function install_GitHub goes out to my GitHub page and downloads the data so I could work on multiple computers. And also I was using GitHub naturally to track my work. I kept hitting problems with installation of packages. I made a couple mistakes. One, too late, too near the time of my presentation, I decided to update R and update RStudio. I thought it would be best for those that wanted to reproduce what I had created, and also for those that were inspired to try R, that I update everything. But this created problems I still do not fully understand, at least on Windows. It looks like, from what I've seen online, R has a more seamless integration, I guess, with Linux in particular, maybe Mac as well, but Windows does sometimes create some problems. That could be at the core of what I was experiencing, wherein a package would need to be reinstalled when I installed another package. I still don't understand this. So I would have to go in to Windows Explorer and delete the package, then reinstall it. That did not always work. I have this arrow pointing to the R GUI, which is just like the kind of base R interface, which I almost never use except for when I'm dealing with these kinds of package or update concerns. I found that sometimes it worked better to install a package using that R GUI instead of doing it from RStudio. So if you experience this problem, it's normal from what I can see online. So like I just said, you can type in .lib paths, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, to see where R is looking for packages, and do a manual deletion if you have trouble. The screen behind, the text behind this black box is what you will sometimes see when you update a package. The dependencies will be pointed out as ones that sometimes are needing to be updated, well, that can be updated. If you are short for time, I suggest picking 3, none, so that you can proceed forward. But what I have experienced is sometimes when you input 3, packages will still get updated because they are necessary. It is necessary to update them. So that creates a headache. So I was making progress. I wanted to look at Research Triangle Analysts and TriPass. If you play around with the meetup.r package, what you do is go to the URL, the meetup.com URL, and see how your group name is typed. And then that is what you will provide to the meetup.r package. At this time, I'm sorry, I'm out of sync with my timing, but I'll go ahead and say, even though I think this comes up later, meetup.com updated their API last year so that it uses OAuth. So it used to be that you received a key and anyone could acquire data through the API. Now one has to pay for their, I think it's called Meetup Pro, in order to get the OAuth access. So that's unfortunate. So if anyone's playing around with this code and you experience a failure, it could be because of that. Fortunately, I was able to get in before this paid element was introduced. So I have access to OAuth without having to pay for anything else. The new RStudio will prompt you as far as dealing with packages. It's nice that RStudio will prompt you if you need to install a package. It's not always clear when you load another package that one is needed, and I don't fully understand this, but it is nice that it will tell you when you need to install a package that you might have not realized you needed to install. Another problem I was hitting, I updated R, and it turns out quite a few packages were returning this error that you see at the bottom, that indicating that the package had been installed before I updated R, and so there was total failure. There might be a way to bypass that, but I do not think so. So if you update R, I would go online. I have a URL in the slide notes. There is a simple set of code you can run so that after you update R, and I would go ahead and update RStudio while you're at it, you can then re-download all your packages so that R detects those packages as being correct for your version of R. That's highly recommended. It will save you a lot of time. Oh, I did want to show here, if you run this code, in the orange text where you see all this blah, blah, moving to OAuth only, that is going to appear even though you are using OAuth just fine. It's not a problem. When you run the Meetup R package, I think when you run any of its functions, it will trigger that OAuth authentication, and you will type in your meetup.com login, and this is what you see, authentication complete in your web browser, and then you can run the R functions, the R-Ladies functions, and actually my functions as well in this package. What I have done is created a package called Meetup Excel Animate, XL the letters, and that's a work in progress. I'm looking for collaborators as well. I'll show some of its features in a little bit. So let's look at it. So this is code that appears when one uses the package I've created. What it's doing is downloading per event a record, because that's what the API requires, so that I can then aggregate events or individuals that have joined the group and then work with that aggregation of data. I was hitting this HTTP 400 error, and I increased the amount of delay that you see referenced by pausing every 5 events in hopes that my patience would yield a success. I am not a web developer. I should have looked into what HTTP 400 means. This bad request was not what I thought it was. Instead, well, so to better understand what error I was experiencing, in RStudio, and I'll hopefully be able to show this later, you can set a breakpoint with Shift F9 in your code, and then when you build the package that you can download from my GitHub page and run the code, it will stop at that point, and you can look at the environment. You can look at the data that have been loaded into R and better understand what is triggering the errors that you are experiencing. This is also how I made edits to the code that ultimately led to a successful pull request into the R-Ladies Meetup R package. And it's just a close-up of the breakpoint references in RStudio. Control-Shift-B is what you will press if you are working in a package environment and you have the breakpoints, so that the breakpoints will then activate when you run a function of that package. And then you can be in debug mode. When the breakpoint is encountered, this is what you see. There are commands the two I will highlight for debug mode are N and C, and then you can use R, whatever R function you like to understand the data, such as ls, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, to see all the variables in your environment. In our world, we call those objects, all the objects in your environment. This is not a very pretty slide, but the code I added was to evaluate, was to see the URL that was triggering that 400 error that I thought initially just meant I needed to delay the downloads. I thought I was hitting a limit imposed by meetup.com. So in the middle, at the top middle of the screen where you see API underscore URL, I printed that out so I could see what URL was triggering the error. And I ended up adding this code is now part of the Meetup R package. It allows people to avoid the error that I will show you. After adding that code, this bottom reference of download one record is what was hitting the error, this 27108, blah, blah, blah. It was that URL in the TriPass group that was triggering the error. I thought that was strange. It was this event. So what I was doing was acquiring the data from past events. My event, our event scheduled in the future for June 30th, for only the TriPass group was triggering this error. It's essentially a bug, I would say, in the meetup.com API. My guess is that TriPass president Kevin Fiesel had postponed my event after I had asked for it to be postponed, but Meetup saved the date as being in the past, so that even though it showed as a future event in some location, it was still considered a past event. So it gets loaded when I run get underscore events from the Meetup R package with the past argument. There was no indication that the event, there was no way for me to see when I saw that HTTP 400 error, what URL was triggering the problem or any explanation. So that I feel good about having introduced this new feature so that one can more quickly see what is the problem. So I talked with, so there was some chat, there's been quite a bit of chat actually in the GitHub page for the Meetup R package concerning the challenge of getting the correct date when group members joined, and also this HTTP 400 error I was hitting. So Dr. Aaron Liddell, co-founder of R Ladies and chief machine learning scientist at H2O.ai, very kindly responded to me and made me a contributing author after I finally figured all this out. This took a lot of time, and I figured it out sometime after the second postponing of the event. So I felt very good about that. This is from the Meetup R GitHub page discussion. So this actually, the problems that I've been discussing, and particularly acquiring the correct date for when members join the group, goes back some months. This is from February 17th. So I feel good about having finally fixed that. And you can see that the challenge was resolved by pull request number 71 that I offered. So I want to do, you can get my bio information. Since we have plenty of time, I do want to show some of the code, if this is going to work. Oh, good. This is going to work as I'd like. Now, I am going to ask one of the administrators of this Zoom call to jump on the microphone and tell me when on screen you actually see our studio.
I can see it. It's
okay, perfect.
Yeah, there you go. It's taking up full screen now.
So let's look at debugging a little bit. This is from the package I referenced earlier that I've created, Meetup XL Animate. I'll make the text a little bigger. Control plus sign makes a larger font. So let's say I wanted to figure out what's wrong here, past events. Shift F9 creates the breakpoint. Then I do Control Shift B to build the package. What exactly is happening is not important. We will wait a little bit. Hopefully just a little bit. So as it's building, after the package has been built, the breakpoint will now be active so that when I run a function and that breakpoint is hit in the code, we can look around and understand what is happening in the environment, AKA, I would say the RAM or memory. Okay. Control 2, good. So I have a bad habit, forgive me. Normally when people work in R, their screen appears this way. Let's see. I forgot how to do it. But there's a 4-panel screen that people normally use. And I have the bad habit, please forgive me, of zooming into one screen. This is the, now I can't think of the name of it, console, I think. And Control 2 shifts out. Yeah, here's a console. Control 1 gives you the source window. So if you are in RStudio and wondering what I was doing, that's it. Unfortunately, I can't remember how to do the 4-panel. Oh, there it is. This is the 4-panel version that people often use. So on the top left, you have the source with code that you can easily move up and down in. In the console at the bottom, up and down instead will give you, so I'll do this a little bit. Empty cars comes with R. Up and down will show you what you have run most recently in a REPL style fashion, read, evaluate, print loop. So you can directly run code there. I suggest running as much code as you can in the source window at the top left so that you can more easily work with sequences of lines. So for this presentation, I have this code. Oh, that's not right. Sorry. There we go. So in order to see the breakpoint get hit, I'll copy this line. Well, okay, so it's now, I have already authenticated with the meetup.com API, so you saw that happen. The breakpoint has been encountered, so you see this yellow text indicating this is what it's about to run. And if I do ls, I can see what objects are in the environment. So what meetup group are we looking at here? Appropriately enough, Research Triangle Analysts. Past events, what does that look like? You can see a lot of past events. That's interesting. Sorry, I'm just surprised with how quickly that ran. Earlier, it took longer to get all of the events. So how many events has Research Triangle Analyst done? This is a data frame, so I can run in-row on it. That is not right. Okay, so this is not doing exactly what I thought it was, obviously. Oh, I have a date limit on this. Okay, yeah. So since 2018, Research Triangle Analyst has had 46 events, so averaging about 15 a year, pretty good. You might be wondering, well, what are those extra events besides the main event every month? Well, we have had lunches. That's the only example that's coming to mind. So thank you for the administrator of those lunches. If we wanted to run the next section or line, we can. There was no issue there, so it ran just fine. If an error was hit, and this is frustrating, if an error was hit on that line, then the entire debug mode would end and an error message would be returned. So you want to be attentive to where you are in your code so that you stop hitting end, stop going to the next line before the error is encountered. If I hit C and then hit enter, then all the lines will run, and this is going to take too long. Fortunately, I already have the data, and so on the fly, I'm going to try and do something interesting with the data that I've already downloaded. If you give me a second here. Oh, I didn't do that right. Oh, I did. Okay. Let me make sure that this is working as I hope. I'm going to do Control-Shift-2. Control-Shift-2 goes full screen on the console. That's Walt DeGrange at the top. President Eric Yount probably is the entry, the second entry. We can check that. Name 2. I didn't need this head, by the way. Look at that, Eric Yount. Sorry. So let's look at the TriPass data to make sure it also is correct. I confused these two earlier, so just want to make sure real quick. Head just gives you the first few rows, that function. So Rick kept, I do not know why the ordering is what it is. So for some reason, I'm at the top of the TriPass data. Kevin Fiesel, the president, is number 2. I think these are all board members at the top. But anyway, at least we know we're looking at the same, we're looking at the correct data, TriPass versus Research Triangle Analyst. Now at this point, I do not know what interesting analysis there would be to do. So that is something that I hope to perhaps collaborate with others on developing or doing myself, we could do a simple frequency table to look at the city. I'll tell you, here's what I would do. I like to use the, I'm blanking out of nervousness. I think it's the janitor package table. Looking at name, we'll look at the most, not name, we want to look at the most frequently occurring city. Oh, really? Second. Sorry, I did this work on another computer, and unfortunately, this does give an opportunity to show how easy it is to install a package and how quick it can be. Looking at the kilobytes, you can tell that the associated data are not very much. So the package has been loaded. Now I can run the functions of that package. As we saw earlier, package name comes first, then function name. If I wanted to, I could avoid having to actually identify the package when I want to use a function from it by loading the package here in a library fashion. You might recall that Python uses the word library. Our users seem to use the term packages. Occasionally I see an R user reference a package as a library. Maybe Python users do the same. Regardless, now that I've loaded that janitor package, I do not need this package reference, and we can look at the most frequently occurring. I'll do a slice in case it's too many. So we'll look at the top 5 cities, and no surprise here, Raleigh, Durham, and Cary. How about RTA? Raleigh, so similar numbers of many more Durham activities for RTA, RTP events. So an idea I have is to map the locations of our events and see if there's anything interesting to say about where a lot of our users might be, or at the very least where our events have been held across time. You can see that we have a lat and lon associated with the location of the event. So that could be interesting. No, we do not. We only, actually, I'm not sure about that. I have not looked yet at whether this latitude and longitude are for the city or for the actual event location. Oh, you know what? I could find out really quick. Let's see. So if we do no duplicates distinct of lat, lon, and city, how many records are there? 446. If we do no duplicates of city, how many records are there? 220. So the latitude and longitude are varying per city. We could do a little more work to make sure that variation is associated with the actual location of the event. I want to show the Excel workbook that will be created. So the current version of this package does allow for the creation of an Excel workbook automatically. You just type in, I'll go back real quick. Type in, where is it? There you go. So you have the option here of creating an object that has the data acquired from the API. But you really, all you really need to do is call the function meetup XL animate of the package meetup XL animate on the name of the group that is based on the meetup.com URL. And if all works as it has been working in the last 48 hours, you will get an Excel workbook with all of the members of your group, some simple information here, and you can get summary stats for your group. So the mean events attended for Research Triangle Analyst members is 2.17, median is only 1. You can see those dates. What I think is interesting when I look at this is just how many people we have. In fact, let's see, I hope this appears on screen. Oh, it's not there. Please give me a moment. I created a GIF of the Research Triangle Analyst membership, and this growth has just been great across time. Oh, this is TriPass. I'm sorry, I didn't fix this, but TriPass and Research Triangle Analyst look similar. Research Triangle Analyst has about 1,000 more members, so please ignore the title. The key that I wanted to show here is that growth has been tremendous across time. So it's like I feel like there's a lot of demand for connection among the analyst community, and it's something to discuss is what we might do to better connect. Perhaps this talk, which is more casual, more fun, will encourage others to present. We could have more events over Zoom, and you could show the work that has been working or not working so well for you. It's an idea because clearly we're wanting to connect and not be by ourselves, potentially staring at a computer screen. I think that's it. I have talked faster than I expected, but I really appreciate, yeah. So you can look at, the Excel workbook shows you how many events members have attended. So let's go ahead and look at the top event attendees. Take your guess about who it's going to be. Dan Kelly, number 1. Let's go ahead and hide these middle columns. So Dan Kelly, number 1, Mark Hutchinson, President Eric Yount. So this is fun. This is fun to see. We have a lot of people that have not attended very many events, so that is something to consider. Again, speaking to, I think, an opportunity to do better engagement, but this is volunteer. This is a volunteer activity, leading a group like this. So if you have ideas about better engagement, you can let us know. But I'm also grateful to anyone leading a group like this, given its volunteer nature. It's fun though. There are so many analysts in our community. So I think I'm going to end there. I talked quicker than I expected, but I appreciate your time. If there's anything that anyone would like to see with respect to the data that I've downloaded, I can start typing code. It might be sloppy, but it has been a pleasure. And yeah, anyone can leave if you're so inclined now. I'll end the talk, but if anyone would like to see anything about the data, please let me know.
Thank you, Rick. And there are no questions right now in the chat, but if anyone would like to go off mute and ask a question, please do, or enter it into the chat. I have one question for you, Rick. One of the challenges in contributing to an R package like this is understanding R, but another is understanding Git and GitHub and pull requests and forks and keeping forks in sync and all that. So I'm curious, what was your journey understanding Git? Like, is that something that you already knew, or did you have to come up to speed on that, to make these contributions?
Sure. This year I did not have trouble with Git, but a couple of years ago when I first started working with the Meetup R package, I think I showed, yeah, I'll show you. I first contributed to the Meetup R package maybe a year ago. Where is it? I think I just went past it. Anyway, oh, here we go. Yeah. So looks like, what is that? December, you can't see my finger, maybe December 2018, something like that. So yeah, I did have trouble initially. RStudio integrates really well with Git. The way I like to do this is I would do File, New Project. What happened? I see nothing. There we go. Version control, Git clone, and this is actually in my slides. I don't know, I'm not sure. I might have another version of the presentation file, but I will get this into the presentation file. And so you can type in the URL, like let's do Ian's. So GitHub, Ian Cook, tidy query. This is a long-winded answer to your question, but the answer is I find it rather easy to do now. So we copy Alt-D, Control-C, Ian's tidy query package, insert that here, create project. In Windows, never mind, I thought I was seeing something else. I feel like older versions of RStudio, at least in Windows, would sometimes make Windows not as large as they needed to be, and it wasn't possible to see the full window. Anyhow, that is not a problem anymore. So thank you to the continuous updating of RStudio. So what it's doing now, it has actually very quickly downloaded the data from Ian's package. When you so initially this was confusing to me. I thought, okay, this looks like I have just opened RStudio. What has happened? In the top right, I have learned to look to see in what environment I'm operating. So I'm operating in the tidy query package. If I look at what's in memory, there's nothing. But if I hit Control O, I'm already in that tidy query folder, and I can load any of his R scripts. But yeah, this is time consuming initially because you're one is having to figure out how another person has developed their code, and there are many elements I still do not understand well. For example, it looks sometimes individuals will use a source function to load code, and then that function's code, the function in that code will be available. But sometimes, and actually almost always, import is used in some way, like you see. I'm not saying that right. Import is used to enable the use of functions in the code that one sees. Export makes functions available outside of that code so that after you load the package, you have a function available. Like in my case, the Meetup Excel Animate has the Meetup Excel Animate function that's immediately available for use. And I might not be getting the export word right. I think that's the right word. So it's little things like that I keep forgetting. That's why I have the R packages book. We are not actually using, I'm not working in a team at work that uses R. It is really just me. There are other R users, but that lack of collaborative opportunity does mean that I have not needed to understand many elements about R packages that I might otherwise if I was sharing code with others. So yeah, with that said, let's see what would I do. So if I wanted to see what functions Ian has made available, I would type in the name of his package. Why did that not work? Ian, if you want to jump on into why it didn't work. Maybe I need to build the package. There is no package. Let's do Control-Shift-B. Oh, you're seeing me learn on the fly. Okay, here's that dependency issue. Okay, so this is fortunately not going to be a hard one. Query parser. So install packages, query parser. So I'm not going to go through, there may be quite a few dependencies. If you were to install Ian's package in the usual way, I think, yes, he has it on CRAN. So I could do it this way. It would automatically install the dependencies. I'm not going to go through that. So that is a little bit about working in packages, with packages that are accessed in such a way as to enable you to manipulate the code. If you just install a package, you cannot actually edit that code. The file extensions are different. The formatting of the files is different. So installing Ian's package would not then give me all of his code unless he knows how to get around what I just said. Yeah, and then GitHub, going on GitHub has been a great way to figure out what the developers have already done. And individuals will sometimes include quite a few notes about their package in their notes. I'm not going to put Ian on the spot, but that is an option. The README page, I'll go to that real quick. So when you go to, oh, interesting. So this is what I described earlier, where RStudio is recognizing that I need to, oh, that's, of course, though. I need to install the tidy query package, even though I'm in the tidy query package environment. I'm not sure what that means. Going back to README, though, the README page outputs to a GitHub document. So what that means is that here in RStudio, you're editing this markdown. That markdown is then rendered on the GitHub page, and here it is. So Ian has some great examples of using the tidy query package to run SQL functions on our, I should say SQL code on our data frames.
Thank you, Rick. Another question Melinda just asked in the chat is there another R package that you might be interested in contributing to in the future?
I'm really curious about this tidy query package. I have been looking for an excuse to use it. So let's see, does Ian have any issues? There are a number of enhancements. Oh, wow, this dot frame, that's scary. I think that is used for very large data. So one of the limitations of R, as you may know, is that it's dependent on RAM to load and store data, although there are ways of getting around that I have simply not engaged. I believe, and Ian, you can tell me if I'm wrong, this.frame is a package slash data structure that enables one to load and work with data beyond the RAM available on one's machine.
Yeah, that's right. There's several others as well. The better known one is data.table. Disk.frame is it's an attempt to not load any memory, not load any data into memory. Be able to serve entire analyses without loading any data into RAM. It's sort of less stable than certainly a lot of the tidyverse packages and data.table, but it's one option.
Good to know. Another package I work with all the time that I have thought about engaging but find intimidating is a package that I am using in the Meetup Excel Animate package. That's OpenXLSX. I suggest using ReadXL for reading Excel workbooks. OpenXLSX sometimes works and usually it works, almost always it works, but I have experienced some failures of loading a workbook when I use OpenXLSX, unlike the ReadXL R package that I believe Jenny Bryan first developed. OpenXLSX, to answer Melinda's question, has a lot of issues. 175. Yeah, I've thought about jumping in here. I think it would be nice to be able to do an easier, to make conditional formatting easier to do, as I will show in a future presentation if I have that opportunity, perhaps Analytics for 2020, conditional formatting. I find it cumbersome to do, although valuable. So yeah, that's something I might look into.
Rick?
Yes.
I was curious. You talked about when you did the installation of a package, you did not have access to the source code, but I thought that was how open source worked. Could you clarify that for me?
Well, we may discover something together. So the reason I said that was because I have installed packages and seen, I think the extension is RDX. So let me see that real quick. RDX extension R. What are the? So that's a format of a kind that one cannot readily manipulate, at least as far as I know. You would need, I'm guessing, some kind of unusual program if it can be edited. So yes, it's open source though. So I'll talk through that a little bit. All right, so here's Ian's package on GitHub, tidy query. If I go into the R folder, all of this code will be pretty easy to understand for a programmer and in a very broad way. You see functions being created and arguments, not easy enough to understand. So that would be easily edited. In fact, I could fork it and click edit this pencil-like icon and edit that code. Not advised because it makes it harder to track what has been. I wouldn't do it that way. I would do it in RStudio, and then you can, well, I would only use that pencil if you are careful and making quick edits, but that's maybe a personal decision, because you would edit it in GitHub and then need to pull the code into RStudio, or you might get some conflicts. Anyway, going back to Mark's question, yeah, so you're working in a different kind of file structure, and I happen not to know more about that. I think I can show you an example with Ian's package, Ian did not ask for all this focus, so if he's blushing, I'm sorry. But so I know I've moved quickly. Wow, that is small. Forgive me, but I think it is important here to see that what I have done with Ian's package is cloned it, right? You might remember, went to File, New Project, blah, 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 version control clone. So that enables me to look at his code without issue. I'll see R scripts, just like what we saw on GitHub. But if I look at another package that I installed with install.packages, blah, 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 something here. Let's see if I have an example. I don't think I do. Okay, I'll show you something. So I looked there for packages. Let's see where packages are normally installed when you're not doing development work. Downloads are R402 library. Downloads are R402 library. Oh, wow. The gold mine. So we check, I have no idea what checkmate is. Let's see if it looks, there we go. Okay. So I was about to be very embarrassed, but you would not have been able to tell. It takes a lot to make me blush. But in the checkmate package, in this R subfolder, you see these strange file extensions. And if I open any of those, it's in another format that I guess is more rapidly compiled. I don't have my background is not in computer science, but it's in the R world, for some reason, they are using that format for packages that are normally installed. Whereas if I go to GitHub, instead of seeing this RDB and RDX file for checkmate, you can already tell the punchline. There are a lot of checkmate packages. But anyway, just like what we saw with Ian's package, the R folder would have R extension, .R extension code easily, fairly easily understood by looking at it versus what we see with this checkmate package that I've installed with install.packages. So that was a long answer to the question. Fortunately, all packages, as far as I know, in the R world are available on GitHub or another repository like Bioconductor for one to actually look at the code and work with it. There's what is that one I use? I can't think of one, but it's fun to work with some corporations packages. They are offering it for public use. There's a great one that does line charts that I can't think of the name of right now in an attractive way, but all of that code is readily available and can be readily edited.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Rick?
I will say I have issues on the page. If people are interested in getting involved, you can just reach out because you may not have the OAuth functionality that would enable you to download data. So what I'm going to do is take the Research Triangle Analyst data and create a data set, and the TriPass data and create a data set I actually already have. So you could then work with that data, and suddenly I am not finding my package. Huh. But anyway, in the issues for my package, and the URL will be in the slide notes, and probably I'll put it on the meetup page. There's some ideas I have for analysis. One idea I have is this could be controversial, I don't know, but it is to look at who has, how does the presenter of an event predict the number? Let's not do it that way. What events have been associated with the most new people coming into the group, right? Like Melinda's event last month was very popular. I imagine quite a few individuals joined the group. So that would be something fun to look at. But that's it. I really appreciate everyone's time. It's been fun. Thank you.
There is one late breaking question, which
Uh-oh.
in the chat, which I'll ask Rick. For the meetup package, are you able to pull data from any meetup group, or only those specific to our users or our ladies meetup groups? And I'll throw another option in there, or is it just groups that you own or that you're a part of?
That's an excellent point. I forgot about that. One needs to be a coordinator in order to download data, some data, and maybe all now. Of course, the meetup.com API is dynamic. Please do not feel pressured to stay on the phone if you'd rather not, but now I'm very curious. So what is a group? Pi data. I know Mark Hutchinson spoke earlier, so we'll see what that URL looks like. Pi data triangle. So I will copy that. Oh, I won't do that. I will go up to the, whatever this is called, box, copy that URL, those URL characters, our ladies, I think it's get events. By the way, this is, I do not know why, oh, that's right, meetup R. There we go. Okay, so I type in meetup R, the package name, and then I have these functions made available. So let's see what happens. I'll get events for pasting from the URL Pi data triangle. Will this work? And I will assign what gets returned to an object. So we'll do Pi data try is assigned as that. Let's see if this works. Okay, like I said, this we can ignore waiting. Oh, really? It's gonna re-authenticate me. Okay, so you may not be able to see, but on my web browser, I see authentication complete. 0 records match your filter. So that might be the answer to the question. Surely, oh, okay, maybe, what arguments are there? Give me a second. Okay, one of the reasons why it's good to run code in this top window, the source, is because there's a kind of IntelliSense that will give you the arguments. So you see the arguments up there? URL name, so that's, I gotta go back. Get Pi data triangle, Control C, Control V, URL name. Now I've lost the arguments. But what I was attempting to do, hold on, I know I'm moving too fast. People tell me that. I'm looking for the arguments again. What I'm attempting to do is get, oh, that's what's going on. Okay, see this event underscore status defaults to upcoming. So if I really want to see if I need to be a coordinator of an event in order to get data for that event, I need to look at past events for a group as prolific as Pi data triangle. I happen to know that argument needs to be passed. Let's do Control Enter. Control Enter is what one uses to execute code when operating in this top window, the source. Control Enter. Oh wow, it worked. So I could have a lot of fun. So now I know that I can do more than I thought. So that does answer the question. Now, why are there only 21 records though? That doesn't seem right at all.
My recollection of the Meetup API is that there is more data available if you are authenticated as an organizer of a group, but there's some like more limited data available to anyone.
That must be it. And I'm not sure what the sort of limitation is. Okay, that must be it. While I am getting events across quite a few years, I am only getting 21 events, which cannot be right. So Mark, if you would like to make me in Meetup a coordinator, then I will be happy to look at Pi data triangle data.
I will discuss it with the other organizers.
Okay, are there any other questions, comments, thoughts, dreams?
Last call. It doesn't look like it. All right, well, thank you very much, Rick. This was a very informative presentation, and we will share the recording in due course through the meetup page. Have a great night, everyone, and thank you very much, Rick.
Thank you.